Hey guys, welcome back to How to Roll Dice. I'm Josh, and today we're going to be doing a review and walkthrough of this game here, Shogun by Queen Games. Shogun is a spectacular game that takes players through 16th century Japan and has them taking on the roles of Daimyo, leading their various clans through the different regions and provinces, vying for power and trying to become the next Shogun. It is a spectacular grand-scale war game in a big chunky box with lots of pieces and colored cubes, and I really love it. I picked it up a while back because I've been wanting a copy, finally found a copy. It's a slightly older game, and I have loved every single playthrough of it, as has everybody that I've played it with. So taking a look at what comes in the box, and like I said, it is a big chunky box. We have quite a bit here. This is probably going to take a while for me to go through all of this as far as like showing you everything, teaching you the gist of the game, but it's going to be fun, and if you get a chance to play it, you're going to be very happy about it. So first off, we have this large board here. On each side of this board, because it is a double-sided board, we have a depiction of Japan broken down into 5 colored regions, each containing many provinces. I want to say across the board there's a total of 55 provinces or something like that. Now the only difference between one side of the board and the other, and the sides will be denoted with either a sun or a moon, is that the provinces within the regions are laid out slightly differently. And that's so that you have a little bit of flavor from one playthrough to the next. You can kind of switch up which side of the board you're using, and that changes things around just enough that it keeps it interesting. Other than that, the boards are laid out, or either side of the board is laid out exactly the same. You have a victory point tracker that goes around the outside, 0 to 80. You have a rice tracker over here that goes from 0 to 18, because you have to track how much rice you have so you can feed your provinces. You have the 5 different colored regions with the different province names and breakdowns inside of them, and you have some different sort of card spaces and graphs on here that are going to be used for keeping track of rules and stuff throughout the course of the game. Now, my first gripe with the game, and one of my only gripes with the game, is the coloring on this map, and sort of the coloring across the game in general, but it becomes a sticking point on the map. They went with a very thematic color palette. It's sort of muted, it's kind of drab and olive, and that fits the theme very well, I get that. But with the map, and not particularly with looking at the map, but with interacting between the map and the province cards, this color scheme becomes an issue. On this map, like I said, 5 regions. The region colors are purple, red, okay, we're off to a good start, green, green, and green. We have 3 shades of green. Out of 5 colors, 3 of them are green. We have sort of a middle green, and then a sort of lightish yellower green, and then a darker olive green. And when you're looking at the map, that's fine. But when you're looking at a province card, and you're looking at Hitachi, and this is a very sort of like natural, organic shape, so you can't easily just spot this shape on the board. And it's a color of green, but you're not sure which color of green. I mean, honestly, when I hold this color green out to the board, to me, it looks like this green over here. But Hitachi is over here in the dark olive green. And from the card to the board, that does not translate. And since so much of the game is spent looking at province cards, comparing them to their sort of positioning on the board and determining what you want to do with that province, the fact that you can't quickly find a province on the board makes it very sluggish feeling at times. And I don't like that. That one little hang up, to me, is probably going to knock the game down a point notch, but we'll come back to that. So we've got the map of Japan, we've got the victory point tracker, the rice tracker, several other card spots. That's the board. Then moving on from the board to the player boards. We have 1 player board for each of 5 players. The game can be played 3 to 5, and those boards are colored either blue, yellow, red, purple, or black. Those are the 5 player colors. And they're going to depict your Daimyo, and they're going to depict some encampments on one side and some action spaces on the other side, because you use the encampment side to set up the game, and then the action spaces throughout the course of the game. Each side of the board also has a nice little sort of grid graph chart down the bottom that shows you all of the provinces and how much those provinces yield when they are taxed, when their rice is confiscated, and how many building spaces they have on them. And that's so you can quick reference all of the information that you need about the map at a glance on your player board. So each player is going to get one of those player boards. Then moving on to cards, we have quite a few different cards. We have the province cards. They have this bluish back with the fan on it. Again, this is sort of my second sticking point with the coloring. All of the cards have this sort of muted deep blue back, and they have different graphics on them, like these have fans and some have Japanese symbols on them. So in some cases you can differentiate, but then sometimes within the same symboled card, so like the cards that have matching backs, they have different fronts that serve completely different purposes in the game. I really wish they had just gone with some different colors and not just some different symbols or shapes or patterns. That would have made it far easier to differentiate while you're setting up the game and playing through the game. It doesn't completely destroy the game, it just bogs things down a little bit, and it didn't need to be that way. It's very thematic, but it sort of gets in the way of gameplay at times. So you have the province cards, each card depicting one of the provinces, and it tells you on the card, again, how much rice is yielded when the rice is confiscated, how many treasure chests are yielded when you tax them, and how many buildings can be built on that province. Each card also shows the sun or the moon or a sun and a moon, letting you know which side of the game board it can be used on. So that's the province cards. Moving on from there, we have the action cards. Those depict the 10 actions that you can take during each round of the game. We have the special cards that can be placed up here on the board. Those are special modifiers that each player is going to take advantage of, one card per player, during each round of the game that sort of buffs their regular action cards. We have the event cards that are going to modify overall, sort of globally, some of the actions during each of the rounds of the game, and will also tell you how much rice is tithed at the end of each winter season, each winter round, and that sort of causes all players to lose some rice. We'll come back to that, and we'll come back to rice in general. I realize there's a lot going on here, but it's a big game. Once we get through all of this, it's actually pretty easy to follow along with. And then lastly, we have the Damio cards and the chest cards. Those are going out to each player individually. You have a Damio card that depicts a Daimyo and matches your color, and you also have 5 chest cards that show a number of chests on them, 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4 chests. Each player is going to get a sort of mini deck of those 5 cards. Beyond that, we have some cubes and some tokens. For cubes, each player is going to have a series of wooden cubes that denote their armies on the board. You also do battle with these cubes by dropping them into this lovely battle tower over here. I'll touch on that in a minute. There's also some green farmer cubes that represent the neutral farmers, which will occasionally join in battle. We have these chest tokens here. White chest tokens are worth 1. Orange chest tokens are worth 5. And then we have these 3 different building tokens here. We have temples, castles, and theaters. Those depict the 3 different types of buildings that you can spit out onto the map, worth additional victory points. We have these different trackers here that go along the victory point track and the rice track. And then lastly, for sort of our larger accoutrements over here, we have the dice tower, or I should say the battle tower itself. Looks like a dice tower, functions in a very weird way. You're gonna drop your army cubes, quite a few army cubes usually, into the top of this thing, and then some cubes, not the cubes you dropped in, but some cubes are gonna fall out of the bottom. And that's because there are several different plates inside of this, this tower here that cause cubes to become stuck in the tower. So you might drop in 10 specific cubes and 14 completely different cubes come out of the bottom because the ones you dropped in got stuck and dislodged other cubes that were already in there that fell out and joined with some of the ones you dropped in. It's a really interesting kind of chaotic way to do battle, but it's instantaneous and it's unquestionable. So I really love it. It's weird and it's unique, but I really, really like it. It's a great way to do battle in a game like this. It doesn't slow things down at all. It's kind of funny and enjoyable for everybody who gets to sit back and watch the chaos that happens. It's good stuff. And then we have our rule book and our quick reference guide. The nice thing about this game is if you speak different languages, I want to say it comes with 7 different rule books inside of it in all different languages, same with the quick reference sheet. So that's nice. But that's everything that you get with the game. I don't believe I've forgotten anything. So let's move on to setup and gameplay. To set up the game, you're going to lay the board out, you're going to pull all the cards off into their individual piles, shuffle them, put them face down. Each player is going to get a player board. They're going to take the cubes that match that board color. So if you take the black board, you take the black cubes. You're going to take the Damio card that shows the Daimyo with the matching color, so the black Daimyo. You're also going to take your starting chests. In a 5-player game, that's 18 chests or 18 value worth of chests. In a 4-player game, it is 15, and in a 3-player game, it is 12. So start at 18 and you go down 3 for each player that you remove. Then you're going to sort of prep the province cards. The province cards need to match the side of the board you're playing on. So if you're playing on the sun side, you need to use the province cards that show a sun. If they only show a moon, remove those. If they show a sun and a moon, leave those in. And then also, specifically in a 3-player game, you need to remove the province cards from the white bordered provinces from the edge of the map. They also show a little fan symbol under their name. Those provinces aren't used in a 3-player game specifically. And that's because they're trying to make the board a little bit smaller so that it feels just as tight and congested as it would if you were playing with 5 players. Keeps things nice and aggressive right from the get-go. So everybody has their Damio card, everybody has their board, everybody has their cubes. Oh, and also everybody is going to get their set of chest cards, which are showing 0 to 4 chests on them, total of 5 cards. Once each player has all of that, we're going to load up the battle tower. Each player is going to take 7 of their colored cubes and put them into somebody's hand, as well as 10 neutral farmer cubes. You're going to shake those all up, and drop them into the dice tower, or the battle tower. Whatever falls out of the bottom, specifically in this case, because normally you wouldn't do this, whatever falls out of the bottom goes back to their respective pools. So each player is going to take their colored cubes, and the farmer cubes are going to go back to the farmer cube pile. But whatever sticks inside of the tower stays in the tower. That is sort of the preloading of the tower to start the game, because for the rest of the game, random stuff's going to be going in, random stuff's going to be coming out, and you're never going to be able to remember what's sitting inside of there waiting to rear its ugly head. So, we've loaded the tower. Everybody has their board, everybody has their cards, everybody has their starting chests. We are now going to begin the actual process of sort of seeding the board with our armies. To do that, take the province deck, shuffle the entire thing, having removed the cards you're not using, put it face down, and flip off 2 cards. So we've got 2 face-up provinces and a deck of face-down provinces all shuffled. Each player, flipping their player board to the side that shows the encampments, is going to take their armies and lay them out onto the encampments based off the number shown on the encampments. So encampments are going to be numbered 5, 4, 3, or 2. Now, if you look at the 2 bottom rightmost encampments on your board, they're going to have a little player marker on them. One of them shows 3 players, one of them shows 3 or 4 players. That's to let you know that those are only used in a 3 or 4 player game. So if you're playing with all 5 players, you're only using 7 of the 9 encampments. Those last 2 encampments, which hold 2 armies on each, will not be used. In a 4 player game, you'll use one of them, and in a 3 player game, you're going to use all 9. So let's say we're doing a 5 player game like I have laid out here in front of us. You're only going to be using the 7 encampments that are numbered 5, 4, 4, 3, 3, 2, and 2. You're going to take a number of cubes equal to those numbers and put them on each encampment. Then, starting with the player who is the oldest, they're going to look at the 2 face-up province cards that have been revealed, and they're going to determine which of those 2 they would like to pick. Now, they could also choose the face-down province card on the top of the province deck if they don't like either of those 2 provinces. If you're curious about what a province has to offer, you've got that lovely chart at the bottom of your player board that shows what province has to offer as far as taxes, confiscated rice, and number of building spaces. So you can take a quick look at that, or if it's your first game, just go at random. And you choose, do you want one of the 2 face-up cards or a face-down card from the top of the deck? Once you've chosen a card, you pick it up, you put it in your hand, and now you're going to choose which of your encampments to scoop up all the army cubes from and drop onto that province. So you've seeded that province with your armies. Once you've done that, you move on to the player to your left. So we're going clockwise around the table here. And that player is going to do the same thing. If the player before you chose one of the 2 face-up province cards, simply fill it with the next card from the top of the deck. And the next player then gets to choose. Do I want one of these 2 face-up province cards, or do I want the card from the top of the deck? Whichever they choose, they pull it into their hand, then they choose one of their encampments, scoop up all the armies from that encampment, and drop it onto that space. And we go around the board until everybody has placed all of their armies and all of their encampments are empty. Now, this won't necessarily take up all of the province cards. There will be some province cards left over, and they'll be unoccupied at the start of the game. That's fine, they'll be conquered throughout the course of the game, assuming they're not one of the white-bordered provinces and you're playing a 3-player game, in which case those never get utilized. Those unused province cards are going to be placed off to the side of the board for now, and once somebody conquers them later in the game, they'll go get that card and place it into their hand. So now we've seeded the whole board. We're going to flip over our player boards to the side that shows the action spaces. These 10 action spaces coincide with the 10 different actions that we're going to take during every round of the game that isn't a winter round, and I'll get onto that in a minute. Or actually, let's talk about it right now. The rounds are broken up into spring, summer, fall, and then winter is actually a scoring round. So during spring, summer, and fall, we're going to go through all 10 of the actions that you can go through during each round. Spring, summer, and fall. Then when you get to winter, no actions, just scoring and possible revolts and feeding of rice. We do that entire thing twice, so it's 2 years in game time. You've got spring, summer, fall, each of those goes through all 10 actions, then a winter scoring phase, then spring, summer, fall again, and then a second winter scoring phase, and the game is over. That's the whole process of the game. So, we've got our boards flipped over, we're showing our action card side of the board. We are now going to go through the process of getting ready for the first round, the first spring season of the game. We are going to take our special cards and we're going to flip those, shuffle those and flip those out onto these 5 spaces up here. Those are going to be special buffs that you can gain throughout the course of the coming round, or that you can use throughout the course of the coming round. Usually it's a small buff to one of the 10 actions that only you will get. Then we are going to take the 10 action cards down here. We're going to shuffle them and we're going to flip them out onto the 10 action spaces. Now, the first 5 cards are flipped face up. so everybody can see them. So everybody knows what the first 5 actions of the next round are going to be. But the last 5 are flipped face down and will only be revealed as we go through the process of resolving the first 5. When you resolve the first one, you flip over the 6th. When you resolve the second one, you flip over the 7th. So as you move through the first 5, you sort of reveal the fate of the end of that round, and everybody learns together. So we've got our action cards laid out, we've got our special cards laid out. Next, everybody is going to take their province cards and they're going to assign their actions. Looking at your 10 action spaces that coincide to the 10 actions that can occur during the course of a round, you're going to take your province cards and you're going to put them face down onto those action spaces. Now, which province you put onto each space should be based off of where you want to take that action. So for example, the action that allows you to build a temple. In which of your provinces would you like to build a temple? That is the province that you should put face down on that space. And when we get to that action in sort of the process of going through the actions, you'll flip that card over, everybody will see that that's where you had preemptively chosen to take that action. And you're going to do that for all 10 of the spaces. So quickly going through the actions, we have build a temple, we have battle A. There are 2 battles, A and B. It's simply so you have 2 options, 2 choices to do battle throughout the course of a round. So build a temple, battle A, confiscate rice, reinforce and move, add 3 armies, confiscate taxes, battle B, and these aren't always going to be in this order. Build a castle, reinforce with 5 armies, and build a theater. Those are going to get randomized in order every time, but you have those 10 actions on your player board. You're going to place a province onto each of those. Now, if for some reason you don't have enough provinces to fill all of them, which generally happens at the start of a game, or if you simply don't want to take one of those actions, you're going to fill that space with a chest card. You have those cards with 0 to 4 chests shown on them. You're going to take one of those chest cards and you're going to put it face down on that space. Nobody else knows you've done this. As far as they know, that's a province, and they have to assume that that's a province and plan accordingly with what they're going to do. But you know that it's actually a chest card, and what that means is when you get to that action, when that action resolves, you do nothing. You don't gain the chests on the card or anything like that. You just do nothing. It's like a cancel. If you actually don't have enough cards, chest cards included, to put anything on one of the spaces, say you have 5 provinces to your name because you're doing very poorly, or 3 provinces to your name, and then your 5 chest cards, that leaves 2 actions completely unfilled. They're just unfilled. So once you've filled out all of your action spaces as best you can using provinces and chests, you're going to place a card on your bidding space. Your bidding space is the space to the bottom left corner off to the side of the action spaces. That's going to be where you place preferably a chest card, but whatever card you want to bid with to determine which of the special cards you're going to acquire for the next round, which will also determine player turn order. Again, I realize we're going through a lot, but we're almost done here. We're almost ready to start the round. So you're going to place a card in that spot, preferably a chest, for whatever you want to bid. If you place, for example, the 3 chest card, you're going to actually have to pay 3 chests when that card is revealed. But if that's the highest bid, say everybody else bids lower than that, you get first pick out of the special cards up here. So everybody places a bid card there. Then we don't jump right to earning special cards. There's a quick pause. We're going to pull 4 event cards out of the deck of event cards after having shuffled it. And we're going to shuffle just those 4 and flip off 1 card. That's going to be the event card for the next round. That's useful information because event cards are usually debuffs to one of the actions that are going to occur during the coming round. So an event card has 2 halves to it. It's got a buff or debuff section, and then a tithing section that shows a loss of rice. Ignore that bottom part, the loss of rice for now. That's only for winter seasons. So you've got those 4 event cards, you flip one out, that's going to show a buff or a debuff for the coming round. Place that event card on the board so that everybody can see it. Place the other 3 face up off to the side so everybody can remember what's in store for the future. And then we are going to reveal our bet cards, our bid cards, to see who's going to pick in what order. Starting with the highest bid, so if somebody bid 4 chests, you're going to pay what you bid to the pool, and then you're actually going to choose one of the 5 special cards. Whichever card you choose, you're going to take that card, place it next to your player board so that you can keep in mind that you have it, and then you're going to take your Daimyo card and place it where that special card was. And like I said, that's because this is going to determine resolve order as we go through the actions for the next round. So starting with whoever bid the most, say it's somebody bid 4 chests, they pay their 4 chests, they grab a card, they place their Daimyo card there. It doesn't have to be the first card, it's whatever card they want, and that's going to determine their turn order. Then we move on to whoever bid the next most. Now say for example 2 people bid 3 chests. How do we break that tie? You take both their Daimyo cards, you put them face down, you do a quick little ruffle, and you pull 1 card off the top, and that person picks first, and then the next person. And again, they pick a card, they put their Daimyo card in place, and they take that special card and they put it next to their player board so they don't forget they have it. Once everybody has gone around and done that, we have our player order and everybody has a special. Now, a couple of things. What if the card that you bid was a province and not a chest? Here's the resolve order. 4 chests, 3 chests, 2 chests, 1 chest, province card, then blank chest card, and then technically at the end, no card. If you ran out of cards because you had to place them all on action spaces and you had nothing to put on the bid space, so you have no card, that's dead last. So you go 4, 3, 2, 1, province, then 0 chest, then blank, or then no card. That's because placing a province there, in theory, has more value than bidding no chests, because you're giving up the option of using a province to take an action, which is more of a detriment than paying nothing. So that's the resolve order, or that's the bid order. Once everybody has placed their Daimyo and taken their special, we're done with that, and we're actually ready to jump into the first round, the first season, which is spring. If you're playing with fewer than 5 players and you've got some unchosen special cards up here, simply remove them, put them off to the side, and slide your Daimyo over to fill in any blanks. You're just gonna skip the blanks and go right in order. So now we're ready to start off the first season of the game, the first round of the game with spring. Going down onto the first action card, which here is Build Theater. Build Temple. So everybody is going to go to the Build Temple space on their action grid, and they're going to flip over whatever card is there. Starting with the first player in Daimyo order up here, that player is going to perform the Build Temple action in the province that they put there. If they put a chest card there, they skip. They pass, they don't do anything. If they don't have the money to pay, it says 2 chests to build a theater, or build a temple. If they don't have that money, they don't do anything. But if they do have the money, they have to build a temple in that province. Now, when building, keep in mind that you can't have 2 of the same buildings in one province. Not region, but small individual province. So say you have 3 build spaces, you can't do temple, temple, castle. It has to be temple, theater, castle. You have to split it up. So, and the reason you want to build buildings is because they give you additional victory points. I'll get into victory points in the end, but basically the more buildings you have, and the more buildings you have in a specific region, the more additional victory points you're going to get during each of the scoring rounds. So, we have our first action, starting with the first Daimyo. He builds a temple. Then we move on to the next player in Daimyo order. They build a temple, and so until everybody has built their temple or resolved that action, whether they're doing it or not. Then we reveal the next face down card, which in this case will be card 6. I have them here face up already, but they would be face down, and you would flip that face over. So we learn a little bit further into our future what's going to happen next. And then we move on to the next action card, which here is Move and Battle A. Again, starting with the first Daimyo in Daimyo order, we're going to do Move and Battle A. So let's talk about battling. Move and Battle means exactly that. Choose a province, choose the province that you placed on that location, scoop up any number of army cubes that you have there, keeping in mind you always have to leave behind at least 1, and move them to any adjacent province that is not owned by you. It could be an uncontrolled province, meaning a card that's off to the side that nobody got at the beginning of the game, or it could be one that's controlled by another player. But either way, you're starting a battle, because even if you move into an uncontrolled province, it's actually going to cause 1 tiny farmer cube to go to war against you, so there's always going to be a battle either way. So you're going to choose any number of cubes from the province that you placed there, leaving at least 1 behind, moving them to an adjacent province that you do not control, and start a battle there. Now, if you look at the board, you'll see some dotted lines between certain regions. Those are shipping lanes. That just means that those 2 provinces are considered adjacent for the purposes of moving. So you pick up some of your cubes, you move them to an adjacent province. Let's say it's unoccupied, because that's the easiest way to start, right? You pick up one of these little farmer cubes, it's always 1. You take all the cubes that you just moved into that region with your 1 little farmer cube, with any cubes that are sitting in this tray. Doesn't matter if they're yours, farmers, or some other players that aren't even involved in this fight. You pick those up. Careful when you pick them up. My final sort of sticking point with the game is that if you bump that tray even slightly, you'll cause additional cubes to fall out. Now, they still sit in the tray, but you've kind of artificially influenced the tower, and you want to avoid doing that as much as possible. So anyways, you take all your army cubes, you take the one farmer cube from the empty province, and you take any cubes that are sitting in this tray, doesn't matter whose they are, you shake them up and you dump them into the top. Now what's gonna fall out of the bottom is anyone's guess, but once it does finish sort of unloading into the tray, you're gonna take a look at how many of your cubes fell out and how many farmer cubes fell out, because there might have been farmer cubes sitting in there. Even, maybe you dropped in 3 and 1 farmer and 2 of yours and 3 farmers came out. You don't know. So whatever comes out, you're gonna tally up and see who wins. Now, if you have more than whoever you're fighting against, you win. If they have more than you, they win. If it's a tie, it's an unresolved battle, and that's actually a very bad thing, but we'll get onto that in a minute. So if you win, in this case, against farmers, you simply return the farmers to the box, say 3 of yours come out, 2 farmers come out. 3 to 2, you win. Those 2 farmers back to the box. Now, in battle, you have to lose an equal number of cubes to however many you killed. So if it was 3 to 2, 2 farmers back to the box, 2 of your cubes out and into your reserve, because you have to lose a number of cubes equal to those you destroyed. Then your 1 remaining cube goes to the province that you were trying to take, and in this case, because nobody owned the province, you're going to go to the pile of cards off to the side, find that province, and add it to your hand. Now, when gaining a province, it has to go to your hand. If you have a blank space on your action board that you didn't utilize because you didn't have enough cards at the beginning of the round, you can't backfill it at this point. It has to stay in your hand. But you've gained the card, you've gained the province. That's against farmers. Let's say you're going against another player. There's a couple of different scenarios here. First off, let's say you're going against another player that has not annoyed the farmers in their province, meaning they have not taxed or confiscated the rice from that province, because doing so will require them to place one of these small rebellion or revolt tokens there. If they haven't done that, so no token, that means the farmers are currently on their side because they are the defender. They are the current controller of that land. So you pick up your army, you move it into that other player's province, and they have no rebellion token there, no revolt token there. The farmers are actually going to fight on their side. It's not that you add any farmers to the tower, it's that there might already be farmers in the tower, in the tray, or inside, and whatever falls out sides with the defender because they are nice, polite landowners. So you pick up all your cubes that you just moved into that territory, keeping in mind always leave 1 behind. You scoop up all of the defenders' cubes that are in that territory, you drop them all into the top along with whatever was in this tray, try to do it all in one big hand drop, and whatever comes out you count up, keeping in mind that green farmers count as your defenders' pieces. So say, again, let's do this nice and simple, 2 of theirs come out, 3 of yours come out, no farmers. Okay. Their 2 go back to their reserve, 2 of yours must also die because you always lose a number of cubes equal to those you kill, and the one that remains goes on to the province. You now control it, they give you that province card. Even if it's currently on their action board, they have to pick it up and give it to you. And it means when they get to that action and they have no cards sitting there, they just do nothing. They don't get to backfill it from their hand, it's just that space is now empty. You've screwed up the rest of their round. Haha. Now let's look at a slightly more complex scenario. Say they have some farmers that fall out and work with them. Say 2 of their pieces and 2 farmers against your 3 pieces. That's a total of 4 against 2. You've lost. Your 2 come back to your reserve, and the 2 farmers would be the 2 that would get plucked from their side because you want to pluck farmers first. So your 2 come out, their 2 farmers come out, and the 2 remaining player pieces go back to the province onto the space, showing that they still control it. Now let's look at something that's a little more interesting. What if it's an outright tie? What if you have 3 pieces come out and they have 2 pieces plus a farmer, right? That's 3 to 3. That's an unresolved battle. This is one of the most interesting outcomes in the game. Basically, it means all hell broke loose and the entire province got burned to the ground. In this case, the province card, regardless of who was holding it to begin with, leaves the table, goes off to the side to the uncontrolled pile. Any buildings that existed in that region get destroyed and removed from the board. And all player cubes and farmer cubes that came out in the fight get removed and returned to their respective piles. Any other player cubes that came out, say it was, red versus black and some farmers. If some blue and some yellow come out, those just stay in the tray. Any cubes that weren't involved in the fight stay in the tray. And that's true even if there's a fight that farmers aren't involved in, but farmers come out in. Say, for example, there was a revolt token on that territory or that province, meaning when I attack, the defender doesn't get the aid of the farmers. If they fall out, they're not involved in the fight. They just stay in the tray. They don't get counted towards anybody. So those are sort of the different outcomes. You've got you win and sort of control gets passed off. You've got the defender won and they retain control. And then you've got an undecided battle where everybody loses. All the buildings get destroyed, the card goes off to the side, and all the cubes get removed and added back to their respective pools. So that's battle. That's the most complex part of the game, for the most part. Moving quickly down this list, because battle was the most difficult one to go through as far as actions go, because we're just going to keep doing the same thing, right? Move on to the next action, go in Daimyo order. Everybody resolves that action. If you have a card there with a province, you do it there. If you played a chess card there or you have no card there, nothing happens. Once everybody has finished resolving, flip the next unflipped action card down the row, unless there are none left, and then you move on to the next action. And we just keep doing that until we've gone through all of the actions. So let's quickly go through the rest of the actions. Confiscate rice. You flip a province card over. It'll tell you exactly how much rice you confiscate from that region. Slide your rice tracker up on the rice track to show how much rice you currently have. Reinforce and move. You get to pay 1 chest to add 1 army to an existing province that you control, and then move any number of army cubes from that province to an adjacent province that you control. That action cannot initiate battles. There are only 2 battles, A and B. Then we've got Reinforce, pay 2 chests to gain 3 army to a province that you control. Then we've got Confiscate Taxes, or tax a region. Flip over the region, it'll tell you on that card how many chests you gain from taxing that region. Gain those to your pool. Now I will say, anytime you confiscate rice or tax a region, you have to take a revolt token and place it there. If there was already a revolt token there, then you have to deal with an immediate revolt, or possible revolt. Basically, you're going to take a number of farmer cubes equal to the number of revolt tokens there and drop them into the tower against whatever armies you currently have there. In this case, you are the defender because the farmers are rising up against you. And in this case, if you win, nothing happens. You've quelled the revolt. The tokens stay there though. Or if there were no tokens to begin with and you're just placing the first, there's no revolt. However, if you don't quell the revolt and they actually win, it's just like if it was an undecided battle. All buildings are burned to the ground, all cubes are removed, and the province is placed off to the side in the uncontrolled pile. The farmers have taken the land back. Another great event that doesn't happen that often, but it's great when it does. So, that is this guy right here. Taxing and rice will cause revolt tokens to be placed. Then we have move and battle B, same as A, just you get to do it again somewhere else. Then we have build a castle, pay 3 chests and build a castle. Then we have big reinforcement, pay 3 chests and add 5 army cubes to a place that you already have control. And then we have build a theater, which is spend 1 chest, build a theater. Keep in mind, when placing buildings, you have to have space to build it. You'll see these small little squares on the provinces. That's the number of buildings that can be placed. And you can only have 1 type of each building in a province. So if a province can hold 3 buildings, it has to be 1 of each building. That is going through the entire series of actions. At that point, you're going to shuffle up the action cards. You're going to have everybody give back their special card, and you're going to shuffle those and place those back onto the track. Everybody's going to take their Damio card back. Everybody's going to scoop up their province cards into their hand, as well as their chest cards into their hand. And you are going to discard the event card from that round, shuffle up the remaining 3, and flip out the next event card, leaving the 2 off to the side face up so everybody can keep in mind what's coming in the future. You're then going to repeat the process. Now it's the summer season. Flip out all of the action cards so that everybody can see the first 5 with the last 5 face down. Place the special cards out on the track in their new order. Everybody's going to go through and place all of their province cards face down onto their action spaces, along with their 1 bid card off to the side. And then you are going to flip reveal your bid cards and take turns going through and choosing which of the specials you want, placing your Damio card in its place, and then beginning the entire thing again with the first action, remembering every time you resolve an action, you unveil the next face down action if there are any remaining. You go through the entire thing again for for summer, you go through the entire thing again for fall, and then after fall, you go through the first scoring round. You don't do action cards in the scoring round. What you do is you're going to have 1 event card left at this point, right? You pulled 4 at the beginning, 1 got used in spring, 1 got used in summer, 1 got used in fall, and there's 1 left. When you flip that one over, or when you take a look at that one, you're now going to ignore the top part, the buff debuff, and you're going to look at the bottom part, which has a tithing of rice. You're then going to lose that much rice. Each player is going to lose that much rice on the rice track. After that, each player is then going to have to pay 1 rice for each province that they control. If they can't, they need to keep track of how short they are. So if you have 5 rice and 8 provinces, you're short 3 rice. Everybody's going to sort of do that math and hold on to their number. Then we're going to go around the table, starting, going in player turn order. And each player is going to look at this little table here, or you can reference the rule book. And that's going to let you know exactly how many provinces revolt based off of how short you were. So looking here, if you are short 3 or 4 rice, 2 of your provinces are going to revolt. And on top of that, 2 additional farmers in each revolt are going to get added to the tower. So the way you do that is you take all your province cards face down, shuffle them, and have the player to your left pull out 2 province cards. Those are the 2 province cards that are going to revolt. You choose in what order your provinces revolt in. So you choose the province that you want to revolt first. You look at how many revolt tiles are currently on that province. Say there are 3 because you've been taxing and confiscating the hell out of them. And then on top of that, this grid says you're adding 2 more farmers. So it's 3 revolt tiles plus 2 farmers plus whatever's in the tray, just like normal battle, plus whatever armies you have on that province. All get scooped up and dumped into the tower, and whatever comes out is resolved like a normal battle. Either you win, or they win, or it's a tie, in which case they win. But either way, you're going to resolve it like a normal battle. Once everybody has gone around and resolved all of the revolts that they have to do based off of this lack of rice, then we do victory point scoring. And the reason being is you're probably going to lose some provinces and you're probably going to lose some buildings due to revolt. And those are the things that score you victory points. So you do all that, then you figure out victory points. Victory points are as follows: 1 for each province that you control, 1 for each building that you control. And then for most castles in each province, you get 3. So if you have the most castles in green, you get 3. If you have the most castles in red, you get another 3. And then you go around and you do that for all 5 regions. And then you do most temples. Most temples gets you 2, and you do that for each region. And then finally, most theaters gets you 1, and that's for each region. Once you're done scoring that, you do the entire thing over again. You repeat a whole nother year. Get everything set up, go ahead and do another spring, summer, fall, and then another winter final scoring. And that's the end of the game. Whoever has the most victory points at the end of that, that's the end of the game. Usually there's not a tie. If there is a tie, it's whoever has the most chests out of the 2 that are tied. And that's the winner of the game. So that's the entire thing. That's how it works. I know it sounds a bit mad, but when you're playing through it, it's very clear and mechanical. There's not a lot of slop. It's very obvious how things work. It all makes sense. One step kind of moves the next step. Everything sort of pushes the rest of the game along. It flows really nicely. There's lots of like deep thinking moments where you're looking at the map and you're looking at that data chart at the bottom of your player board and you're determining what you want to do there, and you're factoring in what other players might be doing, because obviously things happen in order, and if your Daimyo is towards the end of the list, you have to keep in mind things are going to shift before it gets to you. And maybe you need some money and you're looking at the first 5 revealed actions and there's nothing in there that earns you any money. Taxing's not in there. It's somewhere in the back 5. Maybe it's the 6th one, but maybe it's the 10th one. You don't know, and you need to figure out like what order you think things are gonna be revealed in. It's really good. Really love the game. Love the tower. Everything about it is great. So quickly going through my sort of like little review process here. If you're new, each of these 5 categories is gonna get a 2 out of 2 or a maximum something out of 2 score, 0, 1, or 2 out of 2. And then all 5 categories will add up to something out of 10 for a maximum score of 10. So quickly looking at this game, theme and immersion, solid 2. Everything about this is thematic and immersive. It all feels like you're actually vying over these different provinces and territories. Everything is perfectly in theme color-wise and illustration-wise. It all pulls you right into the game. It's great. So solid 2 there. Cost versus quality, I want to say I paid $90 for this game. It's well worth it. Everything you get, all of the wooden pieces, the wooden cubes, the wooden chests, the nice thick cardboard map and player boards. It's in a big honkin' box. It could do with a little bit of storage support. This little tray that they give you when you put all this away in the box, as soon as you stand it up to put it on a shelf, everything's gonna fall out and it's gonna be a nightmare. So it could use a little help there, but as far as like the quality of everything, it's up there. So solid 2 there. Ease of use. The game is pretty easy to work with. It doesn't really have a lot that you can bump or mess up. I realize it's cubes on a board, but all of the provinces are big enough that even if you bumped this a little bit, you're not gonna like lose where cubes go. Like they're not gonna completely fly all over the place like they do in some other games. So it's easy to work with. It does take up a bit of space. I'm gonna give it a little notch off there because it is a huge huge game, just by sort of the design of what it is. There's not much they could do about that, but you do have to factor that in. I mean, this is a 4x6 table and it's taking up basically all of it. Like, this is a gaming table that I've built for big games, and this game requires this table. So I think I'm gonna give it a 1 there. Coming down onto enjoyable, I think it's very enjoyable. I think this takes away any malice. I don't think you can be mad when you're just dropping cubes into this thing and nonsense is falling out. You can't look at other players and go like, you ganged up on me and you strategized against me. They dropped in like 7 cubes and 3 came out. You just happen to have 2 come out. Like, that's the gods playing dice. There's nothing you can do about that. That's just hilarity, like, wrapped up in a nice little bow. So solid 2 on enjoyable. The game's easy to work with, easy to play through, really fun. It's good stuff. And then lastly, teachable. I'm gonna give it, I'm gonna say, how about this? I'll take half of a point off for teachable, another half of a point off for cost versus quality over, or another ease of use point, because the coloring thing, and that really kind of gets in there. So all in all, I'll say I want to give the game an 8 out of 10. I'd like to give it higher. To me, it feels like a 10 out of 10. But I have to be fair and acknowledge some small flaws. Bumping this, the coloring on the board, the coloring on the cards, and the fact that it's gigantic, and when you try to explain it to somebody, it sounds like a lesson in Excel. But beyond all of that, it is a very, very, very good, very enjoyable game that I will continue to play for as long as I own it. So solid 8 out of 10 for Shogun. I would recommend you give it a try if you can find a copy. If you guys have not yet, please go down below, subscribe, like, comment. I love to talk to you guys. Hopefully these videos will be more consistent going forward. I kind of lost my way for a bit, had some serious personal life stuff happen, but I think we're good to go now. I know I've said that before, but I think this is really it. So yeah, if you haven't yet, subscribe, like the video, comment on the video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Have a good night.